I think we need to put forth positive images of aging again and again in lots of different ways, and give some good examples of that, and by representing these people in the leadership of the church. Emma Lou is one of my heroes of ministry, really, and ministry by an older person. The last time I talked to Emma Lou, I think she was about 93 at the time, and I got a phone call, and she said, "Bob, I'm looking for a good travel agent. I want to go to this conference in Africa on women's issues that I think is very important." And so we chatted for a while, and I gave her some suggestions. And 2 weeks later, she was killed in a car accident. You know, if it hadn't been for that, she probably would still be going on. But she made transitions in her life. She started out as a teacher in a college. She went on to teach at a seminary in EDS. After they retired her from there, she went on to work with the American Baptist Church as their coordinator of aging programs. Then after that was finished, she went to Shalem and learned to be a spiritual director. Wow. And so she spent the last years of her life doing spiritual direction in a very wise and wonderful way. I think life is a process, to some degree, of gaining and losing. I illustrate this sometimes that, you know, when we start walking as 1-year-olds, we forget how to crawl. As we become athletes, you know, we may stop being athletes, and we may have to coach or enter into that field. And I think loss is something that older people we do face. It's inevitable. My wife and I are now over 80, and we recognize that, you know, within the next 5 years, one of us might, even though we're in very good health now, one of us might die, and the other one may be widowed or widower. And so we face that daily. Life does involve loss, and we somehow need to find hope in the experience of loss.
People, as we age, need to stay valued, need to stay engaged. So I realized how important it was that that happens in the work environment. And as an Episcopalian, I realized how important it is that that goes on within our local churches as well as the larger church overall. So my job is always to be making people aware of what's going on and how do we begin to change culture. And I think that aging today is it's a reality, it's a fact of life. It doesn't have to be about decline, but rather about celebration. So that's part of my journey on this task force, to change people's views about aging and to really value people as we age, within the church and outside. When we talk about aging, I think we focus on what I'm going to call the D word, sometimes the death, the decline, the dementia, the disease. I like to say, look on the other side. Where do we value wisdom, experience, judgment? We don't realize that as we've grown older, we really have grown wiser. The reality is people as they age are moving faster than society is. And organizations, including the church, should now be running and try to catch up with really all of the talent that exists out there today as we age. Baby boomers are a unique group because we are, being a baby boomer, we range over an 18-year time span. But I think sometimes people want to just view us as one group, but there really are almost 5 groups within that boomer population. Because remember, the boomer was born 1946 and ended in 1964. So the boomers are one large segment. But to tell you the truth, where I think action is already happening is those who are older than boomers. They're already living longer. When you take a look at longevity, when you think about this longevity revolution now, we're living longer, healthier, younger lives. So right there it says to me, there is the opportunity to make sure that we are embracing people of all ages. So the intergenerational aspect becomes extremely important. But people are focusing on boomers and saying, what are we doing? And I'm saying, already look at those who are older than the boomers and ask yourselves, what are they doing? And are you really using them and engaging them in the way we can? Are boomers fighting aging? I think as much as boomers have fought things in the past, the thing I always say is when boomers were born, they were just huge numbers of us, but I don't think we knew we were boomers when we were born. We got called that as a marketing segment. So I think that when we say boomers, are we fighting aging? I think we're facing things. Some people are saying, hey, this is the new face of 50, and so accept it. Some organizations say 60 is the new 40. My belief is feel good in your own skin. When I talk about and hear the topic about myths and stereotype, my comment always is, how much time do we have? Because I think that we're all rather culprits on this regardless of our age. And I love to use the story of a 92-year-old woman who was in my audience, and one day, she said to me, I do volunteer work. And I said, that's wonderful, what do you do? And she said, I take the blood pressure of the old people. She was 92. So you begin to think, if she's 92, who is she calling the old person? I think it's just maybe aging is tied in with mortality, and people don't know how to really deal with it. I don't think you can do an advertising campaign that says, let's eliminate ageism, but I do think each of us can be responsible to make sure that we're not inadvertently being ageist in our attitudes, in our comments. When people will say, well, I don't know if I want to be with them, they're too old, and the person is of the same age. We see this a lot in nursing home environments. We see it in retirement communities. So I think we're all trying to manage this concept of aging, but really don't know what it means. That, to me, is going to become one of the biggest changes over time, especially if people do continue to work. That could impact some of this new face of aging.